3 weeks down, 2 to go. Hi, everybody. Welcome inside the CrossFit Update Studios. I'm Sean Woodland with Tommy Marquez and Pat Sherwood as we get set for the next test of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Open. 18.4 is up. And this is when things really start to get serious.
It's been great. First 2 weeks were phenomenal. Week 3, we needed some skills, and Dave Castle brought them in full effect.
Yeah. And if you didn't make up enough ground in this last week with all the skills, well, you're running out of time to make it past that bubble.
Yeah, we got a full evening ahead for you, or morning, or late night, wherever you are around the world. Panchik and Guđmundsson going to throw down an 18.4. We will have an interview with Heber Cannon, one of the directors of The Redeemed and The Dominant, the upcoming documentary on the 2017 Reebok CrossFit Games. A couple local athletes will take on 18.4, then the main event, and then we close it all out with the cool down show. So with 2 weeks remaining now, and athletes really starting to fight for position at regionals, what are you looking forward to seeing play out here over the final 2 tests?
Super simple for me. Carolyn Prevost. The past couple weeks, at the end of week 2, she was tied for first place with Cassidy Lance. Now she's in 3rd. I want to see a new face at the games.
Yeah. I'm excited to see the final 2 pieces of the programming puzzle and if a few themes will get continued. One is the dumbbell, and if we'll see a repeat like we have in years past.
I know one thing that the community is really looking forward to seeing is the documentary, The Redeemed and the Dominant, the story of the 2017 Reebok CrossFit Games. And one of the big parts of that story, performance-enhancing drugs.
Have you taken steroids before?
No.
No. I'm like, do you think so? Look at me. I'm like the one guy at the games everyone looks at and is like, really? Like someone told me last year that it was funny to watch me walk on the floor because I looked like I was like a lost spectator who wandered out.
No, I'm very skeptical with anything that goes into my body. Even just ibuprofen, and I don't want anything extra into my body.
Like, people that use steroids are people that are trying to look for the easy way, and there is no easy way to make it to the top, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you think that there are steroids in our sport?
Yeah, I can. Definitely. For sure.
I'm joined now by Heber Cannon, one of the filmmakers of The Redeemed and The Dominant. It's the latest documentary to be presented by CrossFit. And Heber, we're talking performance-enhancing drugs, PEDs. They're one of the main themes of the movie. At what point did you guys know that PEDs were going to be a big part of the movie?
Well, when we started making the film, we didn't know. We had no clue. But we were about to head down to Australia to interview Ricky, Tia, and Cara. And the general manager of the CrossFit Games came to me and he said, just so you know, Heber, Ricky's drug test came back from the CrossFit Games and he's tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. And I was like, well, Justin, we're going down to film Ricky in 7 days. Does he know about this? And he said no, because at this point, CrossFit had tested one of the samples and they had a second sample that they had to test and confirm the results. At that point, they'll go to Ricky and he can appeal it. But I was gonna have to go down and do an interview with Ricky knowing that there could be 2 outcomes to these results. He could be tested positive for PEDs, or the second result could come back inconclusive, at which point all the evidence is kind of washed away.
One of the main criticisms from outsiders is that CrossFit would want to hide something of this nature. With that in mind, how did that affect your approach in covering this topic?
Well, first and foremost, CrossFit is a health company, right? We're a health and fitness company. And so anything that is detracting from health, we want to root out. We're not hiding any results that we've ever gotten from the games. This is such a pinnacle part of the history of CrossFit and the CrossFit Games. Like, not only do we have someone test positive for performance-enhancing drugs, but it's not a masters, it's not a team athlete. It's an individual competitor who at the games won events and made it to the podium.
Yeah.
Like, we have to talk about it. It's huge.
And so now you're tasked with kind of weaving this into the framework of the movie. What would you say maybe what is a guiding principle and how stylistically speaking you did that?
So one of the big factors in how we tell the story and where we talk about it isn't necessarily to take away from Ricky any more than we already do, but to build up what was taken away by Ricky to the other athletes. Specifically, this guy right here, Patrick Vellner.
Yep.
We had to build up Patrick Vellner and give him those glory moments that he would have had at the CrossFit Games had Ricky not been there and we had caught him sooner rather than after the fact.
What was that like? What was kind of going through your head as you conduct that interview, knowing the results that you know and not sure if those things had come to light on his end?
It was definitely awkward asking him questions like, do you think performance-enhancing drugs are in our sport? Have you taken them? why haven't you? And the responses that you get back from that are really interesting. And for those of you that watch the film, you'll see his responses. They're fascinating. It was a difficult position to be put in because he doesn't know, I know, and we're not entirely sure at that point what the 100% truth was going to be.
How can everyone get this movie? When does it come out? When is it going to be available?
Movie's going to drop 1 week from today on iTunes and the CrossFit Journal, on iTunes Worldwide and the CrossFit Journal Worldwide. Inside the States, you can access it on a number of different video-on-demand platforms. Outside the States, it's just going to be iTunes and Journal exclusively, and then 2 weeks from then, it'll be available on every video-on-demand platform internationally as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining me, Heebs. Redeemed and the Dominant, coming to you guys soon.
Check it.
Tommy, you've actually gotten a chance to see the entire movie, and it's not like performance-enhancing drugs are talked about for a couple minutes. They deal with this throughout the movie.
I mean, they introduce it fairly early on, and they keep it as a subject throughout the entirety of the movie, and I really respect the way they did that and allowed that to be a central theme without it being the only theme and dominating the movie, and still giving credit to other people.
First of all, I think Heber's hair is on steroids. Second of all, I'm glad that we confronted this head on. Don't be a knucklehead. And then third, very happy that Pat Vellner got some of that glory that he got robbed of at the games.
Yeah, we are through 3 weeks of the Open. We still have regionals and games, so a long way to go before we crown the fittest on earth. But this is where we stand right now. On the women's side of things, Cara Saunders, formerly Cara Webb, is your leader, but not by much. Just 2 points over Cassidy Lance McWhirter. Carolyn Prevost is in 3rd place, and then a lot of former champions in there. Camila Blanc-Bazinet in 5th. Thoris daughter sits in 6th, and then Catherine David's daughter is in 10th. It is not nearly as close on the men's side, as Matt Fraser is just running away with this thing, as he is prone to do in competitions. Just 92 points, nearly 300 points up on Alex Vigneault, and Vigneault is the only guy in the 300s. George Sterner is in 3rd. Patrick Vellner sits in 7th. The 2 men we'll be watching tonight, Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson is in 23rd, and Scott Panchik is in 28th. But 3 through 6 there on that men's leaderboard. Now, we know Sterner because of what he's done in the teenager division, but everyone else after that is pretty new to the show here.
Yeah, a ton of new guys looking to make a name for themselves at the games. Alexander Caron in 6 is a guy that I had in my 10 to watch article, so I'm stoked to see him performing well at this early stage of the game. But then there's a guy in Willie George from France who could be the first French individual to qualify for the CrossFit Games. He could get an entire community rallying behind him if he can break through, and make it to his very first CrossFit Games.
I'm all about new faces getting to the games, and I'm hot on Canada East. Talked about Prevost at the beginning of the show, and right now, John Simone Wallamer, new male, sitting in 5th place, crushed 18.1. It was his best finish, went sub-4 in 18.2. I'm excited about the guy.
Yeah, the 2 men who are in Arizona tonight for 18.4 will have the word consistent used a lot to describe them. Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson and Scott Panchik are 2 of the most fit men who have never won the CrossFit Games, but they are both hoping to change that in 2018. Nothing is certain in life. However, Scott Panchik and Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson finishing inside the top 10 at the CrossFit Games is about as close as you can get.
Just incredible what he's done.
Yeah, the consistency is unmatched.
Scott Panchik first showed up at the Games in 2012. He took 4th as a rookie. Panchik has returned to the CrossFit Games every year since then. He has yet to finish lower than 6th. He has also never finished on the podium.
I don't want to change too much because what I'm doing is working, but if I go and change just one little detail, it could be the difference between 6th place and being on the podium.
Unlike Panchik, Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson did not have a spectacular debut at the CrossFit Games. He finished 26th as a rookie in 2014. Just 1 year later, he finished 3rd. This year, he will try to become the first European man to stand on top of the podium since Mikko Salo in 2009.
I've been growing, I've been getting better every year, and it just takes time to get that good so you can win the CrossFit Games. And I think I have what it takes to win the CrossFit Games.
Nothing is certain in life, but it's a safe bet that tonight's meeting between Panchik and Guðmundsson will not be their last in 2018. These 2 are basically mirror images of each other. I mean, look at the similarities. Best Open finish, 4th. Panchik does have the Open event win, 10 combined games appearances between the 2 of them, and then their best games finish. Panchik in 4th, Guðmundsson has been on the podium. What do you expect to see from these 2 here in 2018?
Well, I expect more of the same from Scott Panchik. You don't have 6 finishes of 6th or better at the games, a couple of regional wins out in the Central, and winning open events worldwide just by chance. He's built himself fitness over time, and until we actually see something different from him, it's just always going to be more of the same. He's going to be at the top of the Central Regional, and he's going to be in the top 10 at the games.
And we know there's something special about Iceland, right?
Oh, yeah.
Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson, so good, still so young, 25 years old, been to the games 4 times, and after 26 as a rookie, bang, podium the very next year. It's been top 10 ever since. Our only complaint with strength, but he has addressed that weakness. This kid can do anything.
Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson and Scott Panchik will be going head-to-head at CrossFit Fury in Goodyear, Arizona, and that's where we find our own Rory McKernan. And that's where we find our own Rory McKernan. And that's where we find our...
Thank you, Sean. I am standing by with the gentleman throwing down tonight. I got Scott Panchik, BKG, here in the warm-up area at Fury. Scott, I want to talk to you first. You now have the honor of having done the most open announcements than any other male in the history of the CrossFit Games. What do you love about this atmosphere versus the other competitions you compete in?
Oh, it's amazing. I grew up playing football and I was a wrestler, so it brings like 2 components that I love, kind of the Friday night lights aspect and then the one-on-one and what I used to see in wrestling. So any chance I get to come out and do one of these, I take it because it's awesome.
And then how about just the open in general, this time of year?
Oh, it's a good kind of stress. Yeah. It's fun, it's exciting, you get the butterflies, and there's no other time of the year like that.
Outstanding. Björgvin, your 2nd year at the CrossFit Games, you got to stand on the podium. You haven't been outside the top 10 since then, but you haven't been back on the podium. What have you learned these last 2 years that you need to do to get back on the podium?
I mean, there's a lot of things that need to click in life, I think, for you to make it to the podium again. And, you know, I just try to make that happen every day. That's my goal, just to make it to the podium and do even better than I did in 2015.
I look forward to seeing that. I look forward to seeing both of you compete tonight. I'll let you get back to your warm-up. Thank you very much. We're going to go back to CrossFit HQ and the gentleman at the desk in the studio.
Thank you, Ro. Zevia is our presenting sponsor tonight, and they have a special promotion valid only in the United States. It runs March 15th through March 19th. 30% off all mixed cases of soda, sparkling water, and energy on Amazon. Use the promo code 30OpenZevia. Again, that runs through March 19th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Tonight's announcement just kicks off our 18.4 coverage. We're back at it again tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live with our live open recap and Coach's Corner. Then Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Rory taking on a couple local athletes in Roe versus Boz. We'll have that live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We recap everything that was 18.4. And then next Thursday, 18.5, the grand finale live from Reykjavik, Iceland. Don't know the challenge, but really fast, who are you going to pick tonight?
I'm going with BKG. He's ahead of Scott on the leaderboard right now. He was ahead of Scott last year at the games on the leaderboard. He's my pick.
I'm going with Panchik. He's right at home in these open announcements. You heard Ro. He's done more of them than anyone else.
All right, well, let's get set for Dave Castor to bring the pain here. I know a lot of people nervous. 18.4 live announcement from Goodyear, Arizona starts now. All right, I'm not going to lie. 18.3 sucked. But that's what the Open is all about. It gets you out of your comfort zone and it makes you do that thing that you thought you would never do. Some of you got that first muscle up, or that first pull up, or even that first double under. You battled for all 14 minutes of that suck fest. So screw you, 18.3, because you couldn't beat us. And that means we are moving on to 18.4. Look up the word consistency in the dictionary, and you'll see Scott Panchik's face staring right back at you. 6 trips to the CrossFit Games. He's finished 4th, 5th, or 6th every time. Every time! Iceland has some pretty famous daughters, but only one dominant son. BKG. Another guy who just hangs out around the top of the CrossFit Games leaderboard. And last year, he beat Panchik by just 1 spot. It's week 4, and things are getting serious because it all counts in the Open. In the Open.
Hello, CrossFit family, and welcome. You are watching the live announcement of Open Workout 18.4 presented by our friends at Zevia. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Rory McKernan, hanging out with the good people of CrossFit Fury here in Goodyear, Arizona. We're having a good old time. We picked CrossFit Fury because they are an amazing affiliate, doing things that transcend just the box and could potentially impact the health for the benefit of the entire Goodyear community. We got the story coming up at the end of the show. We're going to tell you how this 5-year plan is coming to an head, and they're doing such cool things. But first, I want to introduce you to tonight's athletes, and the first 2 athletes are homegrown. In fact, they've trained here at this affiliate for at least 7 years. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jen Lord and Ryann Roberts. Ryann and Jen will set the tone before the 5th and 6th fittest men on earth from last year take the stage for 18.4. Going to introduce you to them now. We call him Mr. Consistency because in 6 appearances at the CrossFit Games, he has an average placement of 5th. Give it up for Scott Panchik. Tonight, Scott will face Iceland's favorite, Son. He placed 3rd in his 2nd time at the CrossFit Games, and since then has been 8th and 5th in the world. Give it up for Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson. All right, you know where and you know what. We need to know the workout. Ladies and gentlemen, for the announcement of 18.4, the director of the CrossFit Games, Dave Castro.
We'll start with, for the first time to the Open, a CrossFit Benchmark. One of the originals created by Coach Greg Glassman. 21, 15, 9 reps of deadlift and handstand push-ups. Diane. Then you will do 21, 15, 9 reps of deadlift, and for the first time to the Open, the handstand walk. 18.4 is 21, 15, 9 deadlift and handstand push-ups. 225 for the men, 155 for the women. Then 21, 15, 9 deadlift and handstand walk. 315 for the men and 205 for the women. Each round, you'll do 50 feet of handstand walk, 25 feet down and 25 feet back. This is 4 time with a 9-minute time cap. This is your opportunity to highlight your handstand walking ability if you have the requisite strength and skills to even get to that point.
All right, we've been celebrating a lot of weight loss stories. Diane just got a lot beefier, and I like it, to be honest with you. Whether you guys like it or hate it, we've got a new movement. That means new standards, that means new details, so pay attention. Whether you love it or hate it, you gotta take a look at this preview of 18.4.
CrossFit Games Open Workout 18.4 is Diane, which is 21, 15, and 9 repetitions for time of a deadlift and handstand push-ups. Diane is immediately followed by 21, 15, and 9 reps of a heavier deadlift with a 50-foot handstand walk after each set. There is a 9-minute time cap on this workout. Your time will be your score. If you do not finish the workout, then the total number of repetitions completed before the 9-minute cap will be your score. Prior to starting, the athlete will need to establish the foot line on the wall for the handstand push-up. The athlete will stand with his or her back to the wall on the same surface the hands will be on, with the feet no wider than hip width and the heels touching the wall. A line will need to be drawn on the wall, marking the height of the top of the athlete's head. Next, measure the distance from the athlete's elbow to the middle knuckle while he or she makes a fist with a straight wrist. Take half of this measurement and add it to the head height line on the wall. This will be the height of your target line for the handstand push-ups. Once the height of the target line is established, mark it with a marker, chalk, or tape. For the official movement standards, as well as information about scaled, masters, and teenagers, download the 18.4 scorecard and workout description from games.crossfit.com.
Sorry, wait, what did Sherwood just say about how you line out the floor and what's the handstand push-up standard? I can't tell you all that stuff in this show. You've got to go and download the official scorecard for that information. It's at the CrossFit Games website or in your pocket if you download the CrossFit Games app. This is your center where you can see, bam, on your workouts page, the extended video of what you just saw, the official scorecard, and of course, on your homepage, you can still follow an athlete. You saw that punk Heber Cannon in the pre-show. I'm following along with him, and I can see where I stand in my division in the world, in my region, and even in my gym. Yeah, that says 1 out of 9, whatever. So the CrossFit Games app is your center for information for the competition. Affiliates like the one we're gathered in right now are centers for health, and they're changing the world. Now, no one can speak to the impact of these affiliates better than CrossFit's founder, Greg Glassman. Coach Glassman was here in Phoenix last night to talk about how affiliates are enhancing that impact by teaming up and creating a network of physicians who embrace the way that we live and train.
I'll tell you what's going on. You're washing your hands when everyone else is laughing. Go back 200 years. That's what's going on. You're the future. We sit in collective possession, unique possession of an elegant solution, and I mean this in the mathematician sense of marked by simplicity and efficacy, an elegant solution to the world's most vexing problem. We have something incredible. It really is. An open secret that couldn't be more profound. How many docs here? MD? Yeah, look at them all. She's crawling with them. I have excellent reason to believe there are 20,000 of them in the United States in boxes. That's attending gyms. And so I thought, what would happen if we networked these docs? The pureness of who we are and what we do becomes manifest when I, without agenda, get those people that have a knowledge that is not mainstream, that is essential, that is non-trivial together. Now, what happens in this box is a handful of things that make it worth running up on the petard, the we cure diabetes. It's this. At Octane CrossFit, what we have is the finest expression of off the couch and off the carbs in a community that understands the value of that. The breathtaking empowerment of coming to a place like this to realize that you don't need your doctor, you don't need your drugs eventually. And so, do we cure diabetes? Yeah, we do. We don't know what comes next. We just know it needs to be done. Good night. Thanks.
All right, I'm now joined by the power couple behind CrossFit Fury. And Peter, you were at the discussion last night. You saw Coach Glassman talk. What was your biggest takeaway? What jumped out and grabbed you?
You know, my biggest takeaway was the importance of networking with the physicians and really empowering the individual CrossFit communities to reach out to their physicians and help their athletes reach that next level of health.
And it sounds like you've already done that. You took with you 8 physicians last night that all trained here at your box. What was their takeaway?
You know, we're really fortunate. We have a really strong community here, a very well-rounded in terms of the healthcare network. I think that they were motivated to take this next step. They've heard me preaching this for years, and now they're really buying in as well.
Now, for 5 years, you've been trying to pursue a riff on this concept. Tell people about what you've been up to, and it's about to come to a head.
Yeah, so at a certain point, I realized we had reached my original vision of Fury, and I thought, what's next? How can we impact the community more? And my idea was this mixed-use commercial space where we could provide services to all aspects of the health spectrum, so sick, well, fit. People can all come in and get help from us. And I've been promoting that for years and years. The city's been listening to me. Other medical providers around have been listening to me. And now we're developing 130 acres right here in Goodyear for a health campus. We are going to be the anchor tenant of this complex. We're going to bring our foot traffic here every day, but we're going to really take it to the next level.
So you've got a 10-year affiliate as the anchor of this park. Like, tell me about some of the features. I thought it was really cool. You had the water scenario. You had multiple loops where people can basically be prescribed some time in this park.
Yeah, that's the goal, is that physicians in the area prescribe people time in this park. It could be meditative, it could be rehabilitative, or it could be challenging and competitive. All aspects of the fitness spectrum.
It's tremendous. I can't wait to see it in action. I want to take it from that big picture back to the competition floor. You've known these athletes for almost a decade. They've been training here with you. So now that you know we're doing Diane and a heavy version of Diane, tell me what we should expect from Ryan and Jen.
So Ryan, he pushes me on any handstand push-up workout. He's a very talented athlete on his hands, so I'm excited to see him there. I know that these barbells will be a little heavy for him, but he's been training hard. He knows himself, he knows how to push himself, so he's gonna do great. This is a little heavy and challenging for Jen, but she's a talented and committed athlete too. She's gonna excel, she's gonna do great.
All right, well, we're gonna send it up to the gentleman in the booth. Thank you so much for being a gracious host, and you got an amazing community here. Can't wait to see Wellspring come into reality. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you.
For more on the action tonight on the competition floor, we're gonna go up to the booth where Bill and Ted are standing by.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to CrossFit Fury here in Goodyear, Arizona. I'm Ted Ramey, joined alongside my good friend Bill Grundler. And Bill, we've made it through 18-1, 18-2, 18-3. Are we now ready for the excellent adventure that Dave Castro just laid out for us in 18-4?
I don't know if I should throw an air guitar on that one or not, but a new movement every single week, and this is one that has been asked for repeatedly by the community, and Dave Castro gave it to us, the handstand walk. But what I love most is not the fact that the handstand walk is in this, but the blend of what this workout is. It's the old school and the new school combined. The Diane, the classic CrossFit workout, combined with a weight and some movements that we see in regionals. So this is going to be a tough one for a lot of people to handle.
With our two local athletes, we start out first with Ryann Roberts, the physical therapist, 48 years old, ready to go tonight, and he is going to RX it. He's going to do it as prescribed.
Well, I love the fact that when I asked him earlier, one, what movements do you want to see? And he said immediately handstands or handstand walking. So I was like, wow, okay, this was going to play into his favor. But he also likes to go prescribed, and he wants to go prescribed. So I knew that he would hop into this one here. With Jen, the fact that, you know, we have some very high-skilled movements with that handstand walk, and she's deciding to go the scaled route. She currently is standing in first place in Arizona in her age group in the scales division, so she's trying to keep that going. But this is a little bit of a different workout for her. You can see it off the side there. We're going to see bear crawls instead of the handstand walk, and hand release push-ups in place of those handstand handstand push-ups.
Well, it is going to be definitely a different thing to look at when we see these two athletes, but it will be interesting because obviously people all across the world are going to RX it, and many others were scaled. So that's something that we're of course going to be paying attention to, and we'll get a view right in front of us tonight. So it'll be fun to see that up close and personal. Now let's get some tips here from Nicole Carroll.
Hey everyone, Nicole Carroll here with some tips for 18.4. Let's take a look. This one is for time, but it has a 9-minute time cap, which means for most of us, we're just trying to get as much work done in 9 minutes as possible. Maybe you're aiming to just get as far into Diane as possible, or maybe sub 9 minutes is a PR for you. If this is the case, just go for it 100% on the first part of this workout. On the handstand push-ups, do not go to failure. Take a quick break, 1, even 2 reps shy of slowing down. You might be gunning to get as many reps as possible into the second couplet. If this is the case, don't take Diane to the absolute red line. That said, if you think there's no way you'll get through that 21 at the heavier load, consider going harder on Diane. Be ready for the first set of deadlifts into the second couplet to feel heavy. Pay some extra attention to locking down your midline before hitting these. For the first time in an open workout, we are seeing handstand walking. If you get here, your midline will feel fatigued and it can be really hard to hold a good position. My handstand walking is definitely a work in progress, but something that works well for me is to keep a few simple cues in the forefront of my mind. Things like pressing through your fingertips and up through your shoulders, squeezing the butt, and shifting the weight from hand to hand. A classic girl like Diane is an awesome test of fitness in and of itself. Stay focused on what you can do with this one, have some fun with it, and good luck.
Standards, Bill, what does everyone need to be paying attention to as they watch this?
Well, the handstand walks is going to be something we're going to deal with, but the most pressing one here is the new measuring scale for where we set that line for the when we're going upside down, going overhead. You got to get your feet to a particular point. Now, in the past, it used to be you put your hands up and we had this 3 inches here, all here, but we've got to get that dot right above the head. So it's nice and easy. Stand up right up against that. And then you can see where Ryan is putting his elbow against the glass. They measure from the glass to the end of the knuckle. Right there, there it is. Now, you got to do a little higher math here. You got to cut that in 2. Okay? Then you put that up on top, and that is your new line. So your heels must get above that line. That's what we're aiming for those handstand push-ups.
And of course, when we see Jen Lord, we're going to be able to talk a little bit about her scaled version as well, but that will be out before us on the floor as we get into it. Again, we're getting ready for 18.4 here at CrossFit Fury, Goodyear, Arizona. And now let's go to Dave Castro on the floor for 18.4.
10 seconds. Good luck. Good luck. Stand by. Go.
18.4 is underway, starting off with 21 deadlifts, and we can see them going at it. A little bit more of the stiff leg on the left there from Ryann Roberts, and Jen doing a little bit more of the squat version, getting deeper into her hips.
Well, I think, what's important to remember here is positioning. It's not that one person is doing a straight leg and the other one's using a leg, but because they have different size levers, they're going to look a little bit different. But this is a posterior chain movement, so you can see that you do want to lift with your back and lift with your glutes, but then also use your legs at the same time. Now, the Diane movement, the Diane workout, I'll tell you what, I think a lot of newer CrossFitters don't do this workout because it's like that old school stuff. We don't want to mess with the old school, but if you haven't touched this, you have to feel what this does posteriorly and midline. Wow, and look at right out of the gate, we're seeing some really impressive pushing. Right there's hand release push-ups. That's what we're looking for with Jen. And then we saw how fast Ryan was going. Now here's the thing, for all the people back at home, this is what Nicole was talking about. You want to break early and break often. That's in the deadlifts as well as the handstand push-ups or the push-ups if you're doing that, because that's going to allow you to get further into the workout and then hopefully hit that second set. Now what's important with Ryan here, we have that new standard, so you want to watch for the no reps. Don't do a lot of wasted reps. Be careful about how you're moving. Ensure that each one counts so you're not wasting that energy.
And again, we see Ryann Roberts there. He is our leader right now, making his way back to the bar now for a round of 15 deadlifts. And now we're seeing those hands-up push-ups on the right there from Jen Lord. And tell us a little bit about those hands-up push-ups, because I know a lot of people say those are great in general for all movements because you learn about that scapular retraction.
Well, it ensures that you're going all the way down to the ground. And within CrossFit, we talk about functional fitness. Guess what? If you fall to the ground, you're not going to be hovering, so you got to get used to coming all the way up off the ground, not just at a fist's height or anything like that. That's very, very important to our training and what we do. So I think a hand release push-up, it's a pushing position, which is a great scale for that handstand.
Just over 2 minutes gone by, 9-minute cap. We're seeing Ryan there. He's back to the wall now for a round of 15 handstand push-ups, and we're already seeing some input there from his judge.
Now, one of the things, you have to start with your feet above that line. That's what that no rep was. Start with the feet above there, and then that's where it begins. Then you can come down and kick it from there. But you can't go down to a headstand first and then work your way up after that.
And again, we can see Ryan slowing down a little bit there, and that was something that he went out and attacked those deadlifts right off the bat. Didn't break it up as much maybe as you would wanted to see.
I think that if you handle, you can, the nice thing about these CrossFit workouts is they have some nice numbers to them. 21, 15, 9. You can go sets of 7, sets of 5, sets of 3 if you want to. And yes, it sounds like a lot of breaks, but the way these workouts, the way you can do the best at these workouts is you keep your rest short and constantly have more movement. Even if it's slower, by the end of the event, you're going to be in a much better position.
Now, Ryann Roberts, again, 48 years old. He's been a physical therapist for 16 years, and he's a 7-year member of CrossFit Fury. We had the chance to talk to him, of course, very into the community. He also does work with the West Valley Mavericks. They raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for West Valley of Phoenix charities, and you could hear it talking to him how important to him the community of CrossFit and the community of Phoenix was to him overall, and what he's trying to do and what CrossFit Fury is trying to do.
Well, the fact that these guys have been with Peter Edgett and the CrossFit Fury crew for so long is a huge testament for Peter and the group here at CrossFit Fury. But one of the things I'm most impressed with is Ryan is 48 years old. Jen is 42 years old. These are my people. These are the Masters people. The fact that they are moving, I asked these guys earlier, I'm like, hey, you guys nervous? And they just hoped that the lights were really, really bright so they didn't have to think about it. But they are the first people in the world that get to handle this 18.4 in front of the world.
Ryann Roberts, of course, in the lead right now. He is on the left. Jen Lord is on the right. Jen Lord, in her first year of CrossFit, lost some 60 pounds. She is very busy. She works as an executive for a pharmaceutical company, and also a big part of her life is travel. In 2017, she traveled 46 weeks out of the year. That's only 6 that she didn't, Bill. That's crazy.
Now, one thing, we're about to make the switch. We're in our set at 9. If you watch Ryan right there, he's actually adjusting his heels. So he gets himself up, and you'll see his feet adjust. His toes will actually drop down. He did it a lot in the set of 15 just to ensure that those heels came across the line. That is an important point because that's the whole deal with that new measurement in that line. So you can see him adjusting. The judge is making sure that those heels are up there, and then that's going to be a good rep. If he was to get the exact same push but pointed his toes, none of those reps would count. So great job by Ryan.
We're at 18.4 here at CrossFit Fury, Goodyear, Arizona. Ryann Roberts, one of the athletes here at CrossFit Fury, is in the lead just ahead of Jen Lord, also an athlete here at CrossFit Fury. Again, they're making their way through Diane's scene from deadlifts to handstand push-ups, and he's about to approach the barbell, which has now gone up to 315 pounds.
And let's just think about that. It's not just the fact that we've increased the weight. Total reps, if you get through this entire workout, that's 90 reps of deadlift. Half of those are going to be at 315 pounds. So even though mentally 2159 you're going to an easier set, smaller number, well then you just increase the weight and also increase to that heavier weight.
And again, we're looking at Lord right now. She's worked on to her heavier weight as well, and Roberts is still up. Now Lord has come back to tie him in the overall wrap. Of course, something to note, Lord is doing the scaled version. Roberts is doing it as prescribed, and we've 6 minutes gone down in the 9-minute cap.
So both these athletes have to be very smart about how they break this up. They are fatigued now. They're already breathing hard. Those are great pulls by Ryan. And again, stop your movement before you need to stop. You don't want to go to failure. You don't want to be straining so hard. Stop 2 or 3 before you need to so you can drop it, give yourself a good count, and get right back into your movement.
Another note for Ryann Roberts, today is both of his kids' birthday. He's got a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old, so this is now turning into that much more of a special day for him. Well, Lord has taken the overall lead now as we make our way through 18.4. The live open announcement here at CrossFit Fury in Goodyear, Arizona. I think they thought they were tired from 18.3, and now they're learning why Diane is a benchmark.
You know, there was always a reason, a response, a physical response from those old girl name workouts. And yes, it is a taxing one, and to tax yourself and then to go in this heavy, heavy weight with a large number right out of the gate. 21 of these heavy deadlifts is huge. Now, one of the things I haven't really seen on purpose anyway is you could technically do this in singles. Pull 1 rep, stand up, and then drop the bar, because then that's going to allow you not having to do it negative, which may help, but I think like with Ryan, in Ryan's case, I think it's a little bit too late for that. You can tell how exhausted he is.
And now we are seeing Jen onto the bear crawl portion, hips above the shoulders, something we've been talking about.
Yeah, so the standard is as long as the hips are above that shoulder of the head and you have to have flat palms on the ground, that's going to constitute that movement. Now, when people were talking about this, I honestly was not envisioning this as a scalar modification, but it is a great movement. We're still getting weight on the shoulder girdle, what we're trying to do. So functionality-wise and training-wise, it's a great movement and a great scale to do. But also, what a great way to put it into competition.
Under a minute left here, 18.4 open announcement. CrossFit Fury in Goodyear, Arizona. Ryann Roberts on the left, Jen Lord on the right, two of our local athletes from CrossFit Fury. And you're seeing with Roberts now, he's had to work his way into that hitch. I don't think that 315 on the bar is getting any lighter.
No. You know, when you're struggling, I mean, you can see how much sweat he has going on. Yes, we're in the desert. It's not that warm today. That's truly from the amount of work and the amount of effort he's putting into this.
Less than 30 seconds left here at 18.4. Working their way through deadlift portions, and Lord is on to her scaled bear crawl. And Roberts right now is feeling it as we come up on the 10-second mark. Right now, Lord is in the lead. But both these athletes doing an absolutely fantastic job, as Lord will come to the line with the most reps capped at plus 32, and a stellar performance there from Ryann Roberts. Just absolute phenomenal output from these two athletes here, representing CrossFit Fury and showing the CrossFit world just what type of an effort they can put forth.
Well, I guess I could say thank you very much, you guys, for showing us what it looks like. But when you see that, it makes me think, well, not thank you very much anymore, because that didn't look very enjoyable at all. But they both handled that workout exactly, I think, how they could have and should have. Whether they followed the keys that I had out there or not, I think it kind of fell into that with both of these athletes.
Let's take a look at a replay now, brought to us by 511 Tactical.
Now, right out of the gate, I think there was a little bit of that anxiety, that nervousness, anxiety, where they went in and they went for it. Very smooth on those deadlifts. You can see great movement. They don't look like they're overexerting themselves too much. But you can see just how important that standard is. So you can see his toes were pointed up, caused some no reps. Same thing with Jen on the other side. She had to make sure that she got those hands off the ground, and that's one of those things in that hand release push-up that you need to do. Again, with Ryann, I think he was very strong on those handstand push-ups. They had a great kip. But what was more impressive was right here. He was very aware of that handstand push-up, that standard, and adjusting those feet to get those heels up over that line. Super great movement by both of those athletes.
Again, Roberts was doing it as prescribed, making his way to the heavy portion of the deadlift with 315 pounds. Of course, it was Lord that came through with the more reps, but you can see
Well, you can see exactly how dangerous that Diane is. Here's a bear crawl. We know she can move. We saw some great movement by her earlier, and now she looks exhausted having to put all that weight on her hands. But you can see just how heavy this is. It's no joke. Don't take Diane for granted.
Let's take a look at the results here as they come in. Again, Lord with a final of 134 and Roberts at 106. And again, we just marvel at the output they're able to show us here. The first people ever to do this. And now let's go to row on the floor with our athletes.
All right, I am down on the floor. Ryann, you're smiling now, but it looked like towards the last 2 minutes of that workout, you started to struggle. Looking back at it, is there anything that you'd change if you do it again?
Not getting no reps so much on the handstands. But
what was going on?
Not getting my feet above the line, my heels. So getting tired and just not being able to press out. Took a lot out of me. And then, yeah, the first time I picked up the bar at the 315, it was a hello wake up for sure.
Well, you did fantastic. And Jen, you're really setting the tone for people who are going to do this scaled. The bear crawl we've never seen in competition. Tell me about that. Was it difficult? How did it feel?
Just unusual. It's not a movement we typically do in a workout, so I wasn't really sure about the form or standard, but it was fine.
Great. I know that you sometimes ride the line between scaled and prescribed. Would you go back and do this one again, heavier?
Hand release push-ups are a struggle for me. I know that coming into this, so I'm really proud of how I did it. I was resilient.
Outstanding. And I know that you face some unique challenges that people at home, we've told them a little bit about, but your travel schedule, for example, is off the chain, right?
It is off the chain. I've been in 5 cities this week so far. So yes, for me to be doing this and feel strong, I feel great about it.
You're taking away all of my excuses for why I'm not going to do well in this workout. I'm blaming it on travel so far. Ryann, today's special for you, not just for you, but also for your little ones. What's going on?
I have to wish a happy birthday. I have my son, JP, who just turned 13 today. And the same day, my daughter just turned 12. So 2 kids born on the same day, 1 year apart. So today's a great day.
Well, they've got to be proud. I'm proud of both of you guys for stepping out here in an intimidating environment. Guys, give it up. Ryann Roberts, Jen Lord.
The first athletes to debut that workout to the world, Bill. I mean, that's intimidating. They got up there in front of everyone, and they did an incredible job.
They did a great job, and again, they showed just how enjoyable, air quotes, that this is going to be for all of us. What's great is we get to see what it really looks like, and then we're going to put the same workout in the hands of some of the superheroes that we have coming up. That's going to be an impressive determination between the two.
Yeah, Scott Panchik and Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson, two of the best in the world, neck and neck in almost every capacity. All we ever talk about is how close these guys are to each other.
You know, we talk about consistency with Scott. We talk about the impressiveness with BKG coming in with that third place finish. But what's most impressive to me, and I've been doing a lot of these open events now, is these guys are so well matched up. 1 place between them last year at the games, 2 the year before that, 3 the year before that, 5 places currently in the open. So if you had to match up 2 people, this is a matchup to have. So I cannot wait to see how these guys go head to head.
Scott Panchik is trying to get back to that 4th place finish he had in his first appearance at the games. What do you expect to see from him here tonight?
Well, we know that he's a little bit older, and I love the older people, so, you know, thumbs up for that. But with age comes wisdom, and I think he has the edge in this just because, guess what, we have a new handstand standard, new handstand push-up standard. The last time we did this, he beat someone who I thought was going to crush him in the handstand push-up. So he took out Josh Bridges there. I think he's got a great chance of taking BKG out on this one as well.
And then in Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson, here's a guy that started off his career 26th at the 2014 games, jumps up to 3rd. He's trying to make his way back to the podium.
Well, when we asked him earlier if he could pick out anything that he wanted, this is what he said: handstand push-ups and deadlift. So when that happened, and then this is what the workout came out, I was like, okay, Scott, you got some work on your hands, buddy. Go for it. Good luck.
Let's send it down to Dave Castro now on the floor for 18.4.
Stand up before I say go. All right? 10 seconds. Stand by. Go.
18.4, Desert Duel, Iceland versus Ohio. Here we go. Right off the bat, Bill, these guys are going right at 21 reps of deadlift.
Now, this is exactly what I was saying, that these guys need to pace. They need to understand what Diane is. You cannot take it for granted. Look at what Scott Panchik did, and I'm going to say that this is the wisdom part. He's dropping those every single, about 5 reps or so. Very smart, because that's going to be time under tension, off of his body, off of his grip. And how much far behind is he? What is that, 3 seconds, 2 seconds? Great move by Scott.
Scott is 30 years old, and again, he is just a master of consistency, averaging results of 5th at the CrossFit Games, and just keeps on doing it year after year after year. He has a background as a football player, and actually we've got a footballer on our right in BKG. He's got a soccer and gymnastics background.
Well, I'll tell you what, the gymnastics background is definitely playing into his favor. Did you see the speed at which he went? Now that's great. This is a set of 21. Everyone is good on the first part of Diane. It's when you get into that set of 15 and that final line, and then what happens at the end. So again, not that far off between these two.
Let's take a look at the keys now, what you think is going to be the determining factor or factors in this.
So again, you have to pace that Diane. You don't want to race it. It's not a one-time deal. We don't have 2 scores here. Be smart about that first part so you have energy for that second half. Adjust if needed. That's going to be the handstand push-up part with that new standard. If you find out that you miss 1 rep, you need to adjust immediately so you can make sure those don't happen again. And then short breaks. And so far, Scott has done that. I want to see how that's going to play. I think it's going to work in his favor. We have to see if he's going to be able to make up the time, though, on Björgvin over on the right-hand side. Look at the speed of those handstand push-ups.
Again, that is Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson on the right. He is in the lead now. 8 reps up on Scott Panchik here at the 18.4 open announcement live here at CrossFit Fury in Goodyear, Arizona. These guys, the common thing we talk about them is just how neck and neck they are in all of their placings at the games. In the open this year, they're only a few spots away from each other, and they continue to go back and forth.
Now we're getting into that final set of 9. Now you got to figure when these guys have done this workout on their own, When we had it in regionals way back in the day, I think it was 2012, the best times were 1:39, somewhere around there. I would say the average time was around 2 minutes-ish for the top dogs. Scott Panchik back then was 3:45. He's way ahead of his game now, which is great. Now, look at the time that these guys are sitting, and they need to pace this. So we're just under the 3-minute mark before we get into that heavy deadlift. I'm hoping and I'm thinking that Scott Panchik now is going to be able to make his move on the deadlift part because he's been holding those reins back, relaxing just a touch before he gets into these heavy deadlifts.
So right now we're on to the heavier portion of the deadlifts, 315 pounds for both our competitors. And Scott Panchik is now pulled right back into a tie with Guđmundsson. But Guđmundsson going back at it on the right of your screen. One thing to pay attention to, we saw in a training video, Guđmundsson said he had a little bit of a right hip low back tightness back in January. So maybe that's something to pay attention to. He trains deadlifts off the blocks.
Well, and with off the blocks, that means that you're raising that deadlift, that bar off the ground. You're not getting that full depth, that normal starting position. Yes, it's going to work, so you're still working that posterior chain, but for competition, when you have to get that full depth, that full range of motion, it's going to affect you. Now, right here, we see both these guys are breaking early, fairly short rest between the two, but the one thing that Guđmundsson had over Scott was those handstand push-ups. We're not doing handstand push-ups now. Both these guys are good at handstand walks, so I expect to see the handstand walk go very, very quickly. It's all about this deadlift and how much they can stay on that bar with that short rest.
4 minutes gone by, 9-minute cap here, 18.4 open announcement. Scott Panchik on the left, Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson on the right. And as always, these two competitors are neck and neck.
So right there you can see BKJ is going to singles on his final couple reps. You can tell that he's starting to break down. That may have been Diane, but Scott Panchik, he knows what he needs to do. Very consistent. Doesn't let the fact that someone's ahead of him worry him. He just stays to his plan. And look at the speed on those handstand walks. That's beautiful.
Just flying through. And I believe, Bill, as he makes his way back to 315 on the bar again, you talked about this in head-to-head and handstand walks. That favored Panchik, even though Guđmundsson has the background in gymnastics.
You know, I looked through a handful of the different workouts, and they were very close, but yeah, Scott would have the edge almost every single time. So you could see the speed that Scott had on those handstand walks. And again, this is the workout for these elite athletes. When you get to the heavy part, this heavier Diane, this is where it all comes down to. So if you blew yourself out on Diane, you kind of lost it here.
I love the energy conservation from both these athletes. They're not going to waste time stepping over the bar to face the opposite direction. They just walked to the bar and got right in it. 5 minutes and change gone by. 9-minute cap here, 18.4. They're on to the heavy portion of the deadlifts, 21-15-9 at 315 pounds. And they also have a 25-foot one direction, 25-foot back handstand walk in between those reps of 21-15 and 9.
Again, it's all about the short breaks. So once you get to this segment of the event with the heavy deadlifts and those handstand walks, whether you're really good at handstand walks or not, you can't use that as a resting point. You have to quickly get down. And here's the thing, none of these guys felt we didn't even get to talk about the standard for that handstand walk. But we're every 5 feet. That's what that looks like. So you see the tape marks on the floor there. If for some reason you fall, you have to go back, and then your hands have to be at the opposite end of that segment that you missed. If you miss, fine. Just keep on going, get through this, because it's all about that deadlift. You got to get back on that bar. Even if you do sets of 1, you got to get on that bar and keep it moving.
And Panchik is flying, already making his way back to the bar at the back of the screen. That is Guđmundsson. We're getting a look at now as he makes his rotation to head back to the bar. And Panchik is just flying in his final set of 9.
He looks so tough. He looks so tough and so determined. Now remember, compare this to what he looked like on the first Diane part. Very conserved and reserved. Now he's pushing, and that's exactly the way you want to set it. In a lot of sports, I call that negative split. You want to be able to go faster on the second part than you did on the first part. Here, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison, but you need to be able to push. You can't get buried and just wait and rest. Not in this sort of an event.
Panchik looking to close it out. He wants a statement here tonight. He wants to tell everyone he's making his way to that podium in 2018. 7:13 for Panchik. Guđmundsson.
Wow.
Still on those heavy deadlifts. 7:11:70, our unofficial time there for Panchik. And he really did separate himself on the handstand walks.
I mean, but both these guys are good. I mean, yes, Scott was fast, but I honestly believe it came down to that second part. I mean, Guđmundsson, he still is moving fine. What hung him up was he got a couple no reps on the handstand walk because he went to the old standard, which is my foot is on the line, and he stepped out with his hands going over. You got to start with your hands in front of the line first. You can't dive out.
Guđmundsson wants that mark to get his place in the open leaderboard, and he'll cross the line with time to spare as well. What a show from our athletes here. 18-4 at CrossFit Fury. Panchik. And that was just impressive, Bill, any way you look at it.
Yeah, you know, that's experience. He looked comfortable when he was out there the entire time.
Guđmundsson, again, even though he did not keep pace in the latter stages of that workout, like you said, there's nothing about his workout that was anything short of amazing.
No, they were both moving so smooth, so fast. Again, we talked about, and we'll see this when the upcoming replays here, you got to be smart about this event. You can't blow it all out on that first Diane part. Diane is a very deadly workout in itself, let alone tying yourself out to that sort of level and then trying to lift a 315-pound bar 45 more times on top of that. You cannot discount Diane and what it's going to do to you.
Let's take a look at the replay now, brought to us by 511 Tactical.
So right out of the gate, what we saw Scott Panchik do was stop and break. He must have broke 3 times on that deadlift, and that's conserving him. Time under tension, and even on the handstand push-ups. He is going slow, reserved. He's very calm. Guđmundsson, I think, just came out a little bit too hot, tried to push that race, and then that really hurt him. When you saw him get to that heavy barbell, he was smoked. Scott, not very far behind, was able to make up the distance, and then all of a sudden you can see BKG having to go down into singles on that last set of 21, whereas Scott was able to go with chunks all the way through, and he just looked so mean. But you can see that right there is that standard, hands behind the line, and then Scott just moved. So of all the pieces, Scott was probably had the hardest time, or it looked like he had the hardest time on the handstand push-ups because he was slower. Not that he was having a hard time, that was strategy, but it conserved the energy. So look at the difference here. That difference versus the first deadlifts, here he was attacking, and you want that energy to be able to do that so you can come through and have a strong finish all the way through the end.
Well, that is the experience that he has from all those appearances at the games, a 30-year-old versus a 25-year-old. And Panchik, it's funny to think of him as more of an elder statesman now, but he does have that experience, and he used it here tonight. Let's get a look at the official results, and just incredible times from both athletes. And I'll be very curious to see where these stack up when 18-4 is said and done. We've got 7:11:70 for Panchik and 8:05:10 for BKG. And again, just incredible. But let's go to row with our winner, Scott Panchik, on the floor.
So Scott, as soon as the workout was announced, it looked like you came up with a strategy game time very quickly. Walk me through what that was.
So really, when I looked at the workout, I saw 90 deadlifts. The other movements for me personally, handstand push-ups, handstand walk, it's a lower amount of reps and a lower amount of volume on the distance. So I knew to be smooth there, and I had a couple no reps on the handstand push-ups that I felt like helped me find my pace and my sets on the deadlifts.
Yeah. And now, I'm sure people at home want to know about that handstand push-up standard. How did it compare to the ones that you've done in the past?
I thought it was harder. It definitely holds you accountable to getting fully extended. And that's what we preach when we press overhead. We should be preaching the same thing and doing the same thing every day on our handstand push-ups.
All right, a tremendously commanding victory here in the open announcement. What statement are you trying to make going into this season?
I want to win the games. I mean, every year it's the same thing. It's why I sign up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Panchik.